ready.
Good. You got to burp your ass today, eh?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hop right into this one.
Yeah.
So I got a text this morning from a young guy that I train. He just started.
Yeah.
So I actually don't even know the kid that well because he just started.
Okay.
Okay, so I get a text from him this morning, and he says, hey, I hurt my back, and my physio guy said it might be from doing deadlifts, and I shouldn't do deadlifts. So I'm just wondering if I should still come to the workout today. Now, I'm gonna defend the physio guy to start, saying that it might have been, it was a text from a 14-year-old, so maybe it wasn't exactly what the person said. But for the sake of argument, because I know there's a lot of people who do say things like this, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna walk through the deadlift squatting thing, because a lot of people will say things like, well, you shouldn't squat like with load on your back, or you shouldn't do deadlifts because it's bad for your back. But they throw these like blanket statements out about workout stuff, and it drives me crazy because we all know my favorite "it depends" thing. And when you just say, well, you should never do this or you should never do that or whatever, especially when you're talking about like not a pillar, but one of the main basic movement patterns that you would do in a gym, which is hinging, then in what world would it be reasonable to tell a 14-year-old learning how to work out that he shouldn't do deadlifts? So I'll lay that out there. I'll let you throw your thoughts on that before I get going.
Okay, my thoughts on that is I agree that there's a blanket statement that means absolutely nothing. Yeah. I've had that, for example, I went to a chiropractor a few years ago, which was fine. I needed one because I was too stupid to take care of myself. So I needed something, a little bit of relief. And the first thing that they said too is, oh, you shouldn't deadlift or you shouldn't squat. They said actually both things. I'm like, what world do you live in? You're actually you're supposed to be an intelligent person. You can't just throw out a blanket statement like that, like you should not deadlift or squat because it hurts your back. That's not what hurt my back. It was because I didn't prepare myself, and I was like not mobile enough. So what bothers me about that statement when someone says that is you're giving information, blanket information to a kid. Now if I'm the physiotherapist, and I look at the kid and what is he, 13, 14?
The kid, yeah.
Okay. So 13, 07. 14, my first question would be, how much did you deadlift? Because any trainer in their right mind is not starting a deadlift with 6 plates on each side saying, okay, lift that. Let's see if we can throw your back out. There's a beginning part of it. And I'm assuming when you did it with this person, it was less than 100 pounds on the bar.
It was almost 0 pounds.
Okay. So what's the difference between touching your toes and doing a deadlift like that? There's nothing.
Exactly.
So it's a blanket statement. The problem with that statement, it goes back to the parents, and the parents think that, oh, the gym is doing something wrong. We should never do that kind of stuff. Be careful. Be careful. Don't do deadlifts. You're going to hurt your back. So that's number one for me. It doesn't make any sense. It's a blanket statement. It's kind of like what I said about working out in our last podcast. It's like people throw out studies and all this stuff, but the studies are done on, not done on athletes. They're done on people that are sedentary. So now, did he ask the kid, did you do any stretching? Do you do any mobility? What type of deadlift is it? Did he ask more questions that, or is it just easier to say, just don't do deadlifts? So this guy doesn't want this kid to get strong ever, I guess.
Okay. So, I got a couple
I
layers.
I could go all day on this.
I know. I'm going to keep ripping it for a while here. So I got a couple layers on this. So the first one, I got a second point about the kids like going to physio and stuff that I want to touch later.
I know.
But first, as a physiotherapist or as a chiropractor or as anyone who's like in the like wellness rehabilitation space, so I'm talking about like what people would call like alternative forms of medicine isn't the right word, but whatever. When you're not an MD doctor, So this is your chiros, your osteos, massage therapist, physiotherapist. Like these are people that you would think should know about these things. So my issue with this particular group of people, and obviously there are people that do a great job, and I'm not meaning to generalize, but a lot of times I find our personal trainers too, that's another issue, because they'll throw out these statements like this. The problem is that the people they're talking to don't know any better.
That's right.
For the most part. So my problem with this situation right now is that, so now here's a 13 or 14-year-old who needs to start to train as an athlete, because especially in hockey, because draft year is coming up, like the judgments are coming now. Okay, so you're starting to go through puberty. It's the appropriate time to start training. Well, now he's going to go into his training thinking, well, I shouldn't be doing this type of movement because my physio guy, who should know because he's a physiotherapist, is saying, no, I shouldn't do deadlifts, or no, I shouldn't load my back on a squat or whatever. And obviously, we're not saying you need to go and train like a jackass and put 400 pounds on the bar when you don't know how to squat properly yet. But if you're going to any intelligent trainer, that's not how they're teaching you how to train from day one, right? So now this kid has it in his head that, oh, I shouldn't be doing deadlifts, and that's the reason that I'm getting a sore back. Yeah. So it's just irresponsible of whoever these people are that these kids are going to, whether it's a chiro or a physio or a massage person or whatever, whoever. And now that kid has an issue when he goes into the gym. And now the parents have an issue when he goes to the gym because they're like, well, my physio guy said that I shouldn't be doing deadlifts. And obviously my physio guy knows more than my trainer about what he should be doing, right? Which is a reasonable thing to think.
Kinda. Depends on what angle you're looking at,
So now we have a problem because this kid he needs to learn how to hinge. He needs to hinge. That's a base movement when you do strength training, especially as an athlete.
Yeah.
So it's not the deadlift that's the issue, or it's not the squat that's the issue. It's when you do things properly or you progress too fast and you're not ready for the load that you're carrying. Like that's when issues can come in from doing those movements. It's not just deadlifts are bad or just squats are bad. Yeah. And then the other piece of it, before I toss it back to you, is so what is the thought process when you're the person saying that? So if you're the physio guy or the chiro guy or the
I got that
guy,
answer.
Yeah, and you're saying we shouldn't do squats and we shouldn't do deadlifts. Okay, this is our ask why 5 times question now, right? Yep. So you can what did your chiro guy say to you about the squat situation?
He just said you shouldn't do them because you shouldn't load your back. It compresses your spine, which is bullshit.
Well, even if it does compress your spine, that doesn't mean that. Yeah, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad thing all the time.
Yeah,
right?
Whatever.
So, because you can compress, you can decompress. We're doing compression things all the time,
100%.
Right? Depending how you're moving through the day, like you're going to compress things, you're going to stretch things. Like
should never run either because it's hard on your shins.
This is what I mean. It's bad for your joints.
It's just
and
stupidity, all in context. But I've got. So let me answer. Let me go jump in here for a second. The first thing I always ask is like, let's just change gears a little bit. When someone says, oh, you should invest here, you should do this, you should do this, it's like, okay, what do you do with yours? Are you, like, if you're going to tell me about money, are you rich? Mm-hmm. Do you actually know? Or are you just yapping? So when it comes to something like that, the first question I would ask is I would look at my physiotherapist and I'd ask a couple questions to myself or to them. I'd look and I'd go, okay, you either look like you know what you're talking about or you don't because you're either going to be in shape. And if you're built like... I don't know, something. If you're not in really good shape, I don't trust what you're saying about fitness. Yeah. You might know how to rotate a thoracic spine and stuff like that, but you don't know anything about fitness because it shows. So you never did a deadlift, so what do you know? That's just your theory, and theory sucks in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Number 2 would be there's plenty of chiropractors, physiotherapists, and all these different things in the bodybuilding world, in the CrossFit industry, and all those things that load tons of weight on, and they promote that to people. So it's not the exercise itself, right? Yep. You got to learn how to prepare for it, which you do incredibly well. And the last thing I was going to say is when you say, there's my comment. Change gears from hockey. If you go in to buy a car and you say, yeah, I'd like a Volkswagen Jetta, please. I don't know why I thought of that. Yeah. Oh, and the salesman goes, oh, okay. Here's your Volkswagen Jetta. What color? Blue. Okay, here you go. That's not a good professional. Yeah. Right? He should say, what makes you want to get a Volkswagen Jetta? What size? How many people in your family? How old? Or do you want to finance it? Do you want leather? Do you want this? Do you want that? Are you looking for mileage? Are you looking for... And there's a whole bunch of questions before you say, yeah, here's a Volkswagen Jetta. If you go to buy... You're going to a wedding or you're buying clothes and you go and you say, I'm going to a wedding. I want a freaking seersucker suit. Those are old school, eh? And you don't just give it to the person. You say, well, oh yeah, what wedding is it? Are you ever going to wear this suit again? Or are you just going to wear it a one-time thing? Because if you're only going to wear it one time then I can maybe make a mix and match. You can wear these pants again, or I can make something a little bit cheaper that'll look just as good. Or if you're going to wear it over and over again, I'm going to get you a good quality suit that's going to last, and you don't have to steam clean them and all this stuff. It's going to be a real good quality suit. There's a whole bunch of questions to ask, and it's the same freaking thing as when someone comes in there and says, "Yeah, my kid needs to work on shooting." I don't sit there and say, "Oh, okay, let's get a shooting lesson." That's stupid.
Yeah.
There doesn't take any intelligence. That makes me unprofessional. I have to ask, "Oh yeah, like how old is your son or daughter? Have they shot a lot of pucks?" No, they haven't shot a lot of pucks. Well, really, if they haven't shot a lot of pucks, there's really nothing I can do to help you. Or if they've shot a lot of pucks, okay, so there might be a couple of technical things, and maybe that's what the issue is. They say they need skating. It's not like, okay, we got a skating camp here. It's like questions need to be asked and to find out what they need to give them, because it could be another issue.
Yeah.
So to go in there and say, well, don't do deadlifts is stupid. It's like, what else have you done?
Mm-hmm.
The kid might say nothing. Well, what do you mean nothing? What do you do when you get home? I play video games for 6 hours. Oh yeah. Oh, where do you sit on? I sit on this thing here. And you find out that it has nothing to do with exercise. It has everything to do with sitting around in a bad position, like you got scoliosis, and you're playing video games, and your neck's cranked and your back's twisted, and that's what caused the industry, not deadlifts.
Right.
I would have a real hard time to say to someone who I would to my mother-in-law who's 178. No, she's what, 70, maybe, I don't know. I could teach her how to do a deadlift, and I'd have no problem with her grabbing a bar and doing it, and I know that she's not going to throw her back out.
Yeah.
So, well, it's unprofessional.
Well, yeah, and this is what I'm getting at. Like, there's no, when you're going to somebody who's going to a physio person, or you're going to someone who you think is going to help you, like this is why you need to take an intelligent approach, right? Because that person doesn't know what the circumstances are that you're coming from. So, and if they don't ask, that's just not the great person to go to. But then you should be doing the asking. So if you just go in and say, "Oh, my back's sore," and they should be like, "Oh, okay, well, like, what do you do?" "Oh, I go to the gym a little bit." "Oh, are you deadlifting?" "Yeah." "Okay, well, you shouldn't do that." It's like, well, no, because sometimes it's the exact opposite thing. Like sometimes you actually need to deadlift.
That's
like,
right.
That's why your back is sore.
That's right.
Because you don't know how to load your glutes properly.
That's right.
So deadlifting is actually going to solve that problem for you over time, if that's what your problem is. But if you don't even know the problem, and then you just throw out, "Okay, you shouldn't deadlift ever, or you shouldn't squat ever," that's just stupid. And so it drives me nuts when I hear kids come in and they say this, and it's like it's coming from some authority, right? It's like it's coming from my physiotherapist. Like they said I shouldn't do this. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, like, what's the circumstance of your problem right now? So, okay, you have a sore knee. Okay, so does that mean we shouldn't squat? It might, but why is your knee sore? Mm-hmm. So we need to figure that out first before we say you shouldn't squat at all. Or
is it growing pains for a 14-year-old? Like, it's not just that.
I know, and that's what I'm saying, right? So it's like you shouldn't deadlift. It's like, come on, man. It's like that is a foundational move to strength training as an athlete, especially. Yeah. It's like, and now, so now if you're a grown adult, if you're my dad who's 60 in his mid 60s and he's never really worked out before and he's not trying to be a beacon of fitness in his life, is it necessary for him to load a bar on his spine?
Nope.
No, because he can do other squat variations.
Thousand ways to do it.
Yeah, right? You don't have to load your spine if that's not something that's necessary for you to do.
Right.
And I'm not even saying that it's necessary for athletes to load their spine, but it's a variation that you can do that's completely safe to do, right? Granted, you're doing it properly and you're not overloading yourself where you can't handle it with proper form. And that's the bottom line. So it drives me crazy when I hear this stuff.
So many blanket statements. I'm just thinking as we talk, every few years there's a new method of the month. Like I remember when in the early 2000s, when I had my first gym, the keywords were core. Just work your core, work your core. And then it was functional. Like if you think of that word functional, it just means everything else is dysfunctional. Well, who would do a dysfunctional movement? It's like, but they're nice buzzwords and they have all these different buzzwords all the time, right? Like, and it's like, doesn't make any sense. But one of the things that really sticks, and it's just another blanket statement, is hockey players need to have strong legs, but you don't really have to do bench press and stuff. It's like, okay, but like I asked the question first thing is like, if I don't need to do a bench press or work my arms at all, well, what about if I'm a D in front of the net and I'm trying to push someone out, or if I'm taking someone along the boards, I'm riding them along the boards, and I want to give them a shot, give them some pressure, hit them, and I use my arms. You need chest and tricep strength.
You need to push.
If you've never done that, you're not pushing anything. You're not strong. You're not clearing nets. You're driving to the net or pushing guys off. Like a good tricep or pulling someone, like you need your bicep, you need some. So to say, no, you don't need to do that, it's like, you have to ask questions. You got to go a little bit deeper than when someone just says one blanket statement.
Yeah.
And I feel your pain because we deal with this kind of stuff every day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And now, the shitty thing is just another parallel is, when I started a business, it's like, okay, I'll go back. That kid, that family, for the rest of their life, because they've taken that advice that you shouldn't do deadlifts and they question it, every time they go to to deadlift, even if they say no, okay, they're okay to do, every time in the back of their head is deadlifts aren't safe. There's a danger, right? Because someone told them something that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Guy should have just said, let me see how you do a deadlift without any weight, and let me see where the pain is and how you do it. Maybe the form's good, and it's like there's no reason to go there. That was one thing. And it was like, it's like when you start a business, like when I was starting my business, my dad didn't talk to him very often, and most people said, well, be careful, because people want you to be safe. People, if they care, or it's just an easy thing to say, is just be careful. I've seen a lot of people lose their shirt. I've seen a lot of this happen. But it's like, you don't know what I see and what I do and what my desires are. But and for a lot of parents, there is a little bit of comfort, I guess, if I would have told my parents that, hey, I'm going to get a job at Hydro or Bell Canada, and there's a pension, and I got 20 years and out, or Chrysler or something like that. I just have to go and, then I can pay my mortgage, pay my bills, and there's no issues. I can save a little money and have a pension. They'd be like, wow, that's fantastic for you. But you tell them you're going to start a business and you're going to need $100,000 to start or something like that. It's like, oh, be careful. You're going to, you could lose everything. Well, that was the other thing, is that you're always told to go to school and get an education. That's what it was. I've had a couple, I was going to start with this today. I've had a couple, very interesting. I observe people, right? I try to, when I'm in any type of group, I just shut my pie hole and I just really watch. So I ran into like a couple people the other day, a couple guys when Charlie was in town, came over and I said, so, hey, dude, what are you doing? You got one more year of school? What do you think you're doing after that? Trade. So the people are around, I'm going to get a trade, not sure what kind. I'm like, awesome. That's fantastic. Genuinely said to them, awesome. And the other people I was observing going, oh, that's good. Because a trade is not education.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, dude, I could go on this.
And if someone says, oh, I'm going to university, I'm going to take psychology, which you're not probably not going to get a job with. Mm-hmm. People are like, oh, good for you. 4 years. What school are you going to? Oh, you're going to Waterloo for that? Wow, 4 hours away. It costs you $90,000 a year to go to school. Way to go. You're the best kid ever. Your kid wants to be a plumber or a carpenter or an electrician. It's like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you serious?
Oh, dude.
It's like, but my point is that we're raised to have these beliefs and to be safe and to, but to me, like, education is like, if someone knows that they want to be a plumber, wow. Because that person goes into plumbing, he's got a trade and he can make money anytime that he wants. He fixes his house. He learns other trades along the way. Plus he can start a business, or he could work for somebody, plum job somewhere. He's got the world by the nuts.
Yeah.
You're never going to be broke. You go to school and you become a psychologist or a whatever they are, history major. Now what? You spend $100,000. To me, that's the dangerous part. Just me.
No. Okay. So because I want to circle back to this in a second, but going on this point. So there's always, I find when I talk, and I'm coming from a position where I've got an engineering degree. So yeah. I'm right in the group of get a really high quality education.
Yep.
Right. And
it won't hurt you.
Okay. Well, it depends though.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So some people, they go to school, they want to get their degree, they get $150,000 in debt, and they don't have a job coming out. Yep. So now what do they, just like you said, now what? What do you do? You're a history major. Well, now you have to either you go to teacher's college, or what do you do? Mm-hmm. You're going to be a history researcher? Is that what you're going to do? Yeah. Is that going to be a way that you can make a sustainable living and have a family or whatever? So it's not just a given that you go to school and you get your degree and it's fine. And then even with these kids that come in engineering, like, it's not just a given that you're this brilliant person because you went into an engineering undergrad, or you go into biomed and now all you can do is research or do more school. Right. Like, those are your options. Yeah. Whereas I got guys that I went to high school with. One guy started a concrete business. One guy started a construction company. One guy is a plumber. Yeah. And they're absolutely raking it in. Yeah. And they're my age. Yep. And they're like, got a house, got a couple houses, got savings already. Yeah. really popular business around town where they're doing jobs all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that actually make the world work.
Yeah.
All these tradespeople, you know, and this is what drives me crazy is that there's a lack of respect that people give to these tradespeople, like they're dummies because they're uneducated and whatever. And okay, because they can't write an essay as articulate as articulate a way as you, that doesn't mean they're not smart.
No.
You know, and there's like this judgment that comes down. And so in my family, like my family is very highly educated. Like everyone in my family went and got their degrees and whatever. And you can tell the tone sometimes when you have discussions.
Yeah, I'm educated.
About people that aren't educated in terms of higher education, like post-secondary university degree. Yeah. There's like a lack of respect in the 100%. Tone of conversation. Yeah. And I'm very conscious of that. And so I always try to like put a stick in the spokes of that when I hear that happening, especially with people that are close to me, because it's like, these are the people that actually fix your shit and make your life work. It's like you turn the light on and it works.
At some point, you need him.
Yeah. You start your car and it works.
But I don't necessarily need a history teacher.
I don't.
Right.
I can watch the documentaries. I can read the book myself.
Yeah.
But when you turn your water on and it doesn't work, that's a problem.
Yeah.
When your car doesn't start, that's a problem. When you can't get from A to B, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like, I don't understand why it's underappreciated, but that's another, I could go on that for a bit, but I want to circle back to the careful thing that you were talking about, being careful. I find like a lot of these kids that come through now, there's a whole bunch of kids doing like recovery, like paying for extra recovery stuff, whether it's like massage, chiro, physio, whatever. And for the parents, I don't know what it is about the parents that they're like very wary of like doing too much or getting hurt doing whatever you're doing. And that was something I talked to some of the parents about when they were signing up for the workouts in season. They're like, oh, well, if they work out on Thursday, like they play a lot of Friday games like that. Isn't that too much? Like, aren't they going to be too tired or whatever? And now, granted, that could be the case if you go in and get whacked on a Thursday when you don't need to. But assuming it's something intelligent, like there's a lot of erring on the side of don't do too much, don't push it, don't overwork or work too hard or whatever. And even if they don't think of it that way, like don't work too hard, it's like the kids need to figure out how to find the actual limit of what the difference is between like hurt and tired or like sore and hurt or those differences. Like you don't know that when you're a teenager. Yeah. So I find like a lot of these kids are going to their physio person or their chiro person or whatever, and they're always defaulting to, well, I need to take a break because this is sore a little bit or whatever. When what can happen is like, okay, now I got to take a week off because my chiro guy said I should take a week off. Mm-hmm. Now I missed 3 workouts. Mm-hmm. Okay, that happens every 2 months, and now you're missing 6 workouts in 2 months. Like that's a terrible idea. You know, You're getting out of the flow. You're missing whatever that day is, whatever the workout of that day is. If it's a squat day or a hinge day or whatever, like that's a big day. You don't want to miss that day. You know, and so I don't know what the mentality is of the parents. Why like there's so much of that. Like I never did that. I don't know about you, but like when I was a teenager, when I was 14 and 15, I didn't go to chiro. I didn't go to physio. I didn't do not that it's inherently bad necessarily, but it's just the mentality that goes with it, right?
It's not. It's never went in my life until I was first time I went to a chiropractor. I was late 20s, and I went because I was lazy and I didn't do a whole lot. I wasn't doing a whole lot with my life, and I was sitting a lot, and my back was getting sore and it wouldn't go away. So I went to a chiropractor for the first time, and it was like, oh, okay. It helped for that day, but it didn't do anything because I didn't change my life at that point until I started changing my life. Then I would get different type of pain. Some of it was overuse. Some of it was, you tweak something here and there. And I went to a chiropractor for a period of time out of necessity because I was buckling, and it helped me rehab a little bit. And then I did on my own. The thing that I noticed is, and you are 100% right, I've never seen so many people have so many issues at such a young age, which I don't think are issues.
Right.
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a change in my life of like there's just an element of toughness that just isn't there anymore. I mean, you tell me stories about your grandfather, I'll tell you stuff about my grandfather, and they were tough. They were tough, man.
Yeah.
Lost a finger. And what'd you do? I taped it. Yeah. I'm serious. Now, is that extreme? Yeah, maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right. Kids there was a transformation of It's somewhere along the line where people got really, really soft. And I don't mean to be like Joe Tough Guy here or whatever, but people are freaking soft. And the thing is people want things very, very easy. Everything that we do, right? You think about it, right? You'd rather wait in a lineup at a Tim Hortons drive-through for 10 minutes rather than get out of your car, go grab one, and take you 48 seconds. Everything has to be easy, has to be quick. We lose our mind if we don't have Wi-Fi working on an airplane. I mean, go back 20 years, you didn't have Wi-Fi on an airplane. You sat there and you rode the plane. And we get so impatient. Everything has to be so instantaneous and so easy. And the thing is anytime people are rubbed with a little bit of adversity, they start getting very uncomfortable and they just want to quit, or they need someone to help them fix their problems in every area of life.
Yes.
So we were very conscious, and I'm very happy about this, is like, yes, and again, I'm not Joe Tough Guy, but yeah, fairly gruff. And when my son as a little guy would fall and hurt himself or whatever, I ignored it. I would be like, yeah. And then there was points where he would, I saw him smack his shin where he split it wide open, and he came over like with tears because everyone, like, it's a cryable thing. And he just was like, not made a big panic thing, but we put some, a band, actually I didn't, my wife did, put a Band-Aid on it, and she thought it needs stitches. And we're like, just hang on, tough it out. It'll be fine. You didn't lose your leg, you cut your leg, right? And that helped him in hockey. Right. Like, come on, man! You don't have to go see a doctor every single time you got something wrong.
Well, then, because everything is then a problem.
Everything's a problem,
right? So any little nick, any little scratch, any little overextension, any bump and like all of these things are I need days off.
Never mind that. Your feelings get hurt.
Oh yeah.
And that was the same thing as with my kid. I would tell him like, no, no, you can't because. And yeah, does it hurt you sometimes to not give your kid what you want? But hey, dude, toughen up.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly how my dad was. And if you think like it doesn't have like real world consequences,
it does.
Like think about what everyone says these days. Like, oh, this generation, like nobody wants to work. Everyone's so soft. And it's like, yeah, you're the parents of the generation. Yeah. Like you are the ones that did this. Like it's not the kid's fault that he doesn't know how to be tough or how to deal with adversity or how to solve a problem. Like that's your fault.
So much anxiety now too. Oh, so much anxiety.
So I hear anxiety one more time. It's like it's obnoxious, right? Because then it does like an injustice to people who actually have a serious problem. Yeah. Right? Because now you think that everything is equally weighted on the severity scale of what a problem is. And like now your kid comes in, and we were just talking about it this morning, like when you go watch games now, especially junior hockey, you go watch and it's just vanilla soft, man. Yeah. It's just very soft. Like there's very few kids who have like that grit or that toughness, or when you watch them, they have like a presence on the ice. Yeah. There's very few kids that I find that have that. And it's not necessarily the kid's fault, you know? It's just they've been in this environment where like you have a sore ass for 2 seconds and you have to go to your physiotherapist about it, you know? And it's just, it's too much. And it's too much both ways. And then you couple that with they go to these people and then they're telling them, oh, well, you shouldn't do deadlifts or you shouldn't do this or whatever. And then it just exacerbates the issue because now the parents, you're already like erring on the side of soft. And now these people who are supposed to know better are like removing things that you could be doing that would actually help. Yeah. You know?
One of the parallels I had, this is what I really noticed too, is especially with my son going to the OHL. And I've seen now I'm seeing my life firsthand again. So the difference of being tough or the way life was. I'm not saying it was better than when I was a kid, but it was something. Went to my first camp when I went to Hamilton. Well, first of all, when I played for the Sudbury Wolves, that was my hometown. Parents, I don't know if they went to training camp. My hometown. I don't think they did. I don't think so. We got beat up. They didn't bring me a water bottle. They didn't say, how was it? It was like, well, no, it was like, how was it? It was good. I did well. Okay, good. Never went to one game out of town. When I went to Hamilton, I got there on my own. The parents, I'd call my parents here and there once a week, once every 2 weeks. There's a lot of stuff going on at home. They never came to one game. They never went to training camp. They didn't. It was like, how you doing? Good. Oh, yeah, that's good. That doesn't happen anymore. every parent, including myself, goes to every game, which I love. I love my kids' hockey. I don't parent them when I'm there, but I just watch playing hockey. I want to see. I'm very involved in watching them. I enjoy it, right? But I saw the change in about 2000, early 2000s. What I noticed it was, and a couple of these guys played in the NHL. I noticed that parents would drive them here. Parents would watch all practice. Parents would make sure they had a water. It'd be like, hey, and they'd bring out the water bottle to make sure that they had water. Like the kid didn't know that he was thirsty.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure that out on his own, and that's the way it is now. It's everything's done for you now, so it's no wonder they're babies. No wonder everything's a little bit softer. You need a chiropractor. You got to sore this and a sore that. And my feelings are hurt, and someone said something that I didn't like, and no one's tough. No one's tough anymore, man. And I'm gonna give some advice to anybody that's a hockey player or in life in general. Work harder than other people. Stick out in some other way, and it's probably going to be more old school, and you're going to do just fine.
Yep. And that
Instead of being vanilla, everyone's the same, man.
That's it, man.
I love it when I come into the gym and I see some, like, we got great kids, but I love the ones that just, I want more, and if they dial in, they just do it, and they're a little bit of pain, they actually like it.
Yeah. We got to tell them those are the best kids, because you got to tell those kids to stop.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, that's fine. You can be hardcore, but like you have to know when to dial back now.
Yeah.
Right. And that is way better. It's way better to err on the side of that. Than never learning how to actually push through. Any kind of issue, whether it's a physical thing or whether it's a mental adversity that you have to overcome or whatever. It's way better to be the other way. You know, when someone has to tell you, hey, dude, like chill. It's okay.
Well, so you were firsthand the other day. You went and watched Charlie play.
Yeah.
And they were playing. I don't want to say the teams. I don't want to give this other guy credit. But there's a guy on the other team that's a tough. You know he's tough. Man. And he's got a tough-ass name. And he was actually picked a guy up on Charlie's team in Guelph. Remember, he went up to him, grabbed him by the throat, picked him up, and slammed him.
Mm-hmm.
So in the real world, I should tell Charlie, you got to be careful when you play against that guy. If he's careful all the time, then that's probably his attitude going into the corner with that guy. It's going to be a dangerous encounter every time you go head-to-head with this guy. And if my son doesn't have any grit, he's going to back off. And then when he backs off, the coach is going to say, you know, what's wrong with you? You're not going to play. And if he doesn't play, he's going to come back, and what is he going to say to me? He goes, Dad, I just, you know, he was a little bit rough, and it doesn't feel good when I go in that corner. You know, because every time I go there, I get a bump, and he says bad things to me, and he told me he's going to kill me and all these different things. So you better learn to have some grit. So I was proud of him for going, not backing down from that guy or any other guy. And it's going to be a long 12 games against these guys this year, and that's your job. So a little bit of pain and a little bit of bravery and a little bit of grit going through your life is going to serve you well in this stupid game.
Well, okay, so here's another example of that. So whether it's going against a guy that's tough, or like everyone has been in a situation that's played hockey where like a kid on your team goes and like blocks a shot, right? So when a kid goes and he knows I'm going to get blasted with this right now, and especially kids that are playing the OHL, these guys can shoot the puck, man.
Yep.
And you're voluntarily going to eat that shot right now. Everybody on your team is fired up. Like, look at this guy. What your coach is fired up for. He wants to put you back out there again next time because he knows that you're willing to do that. You're willing to make the sacrifice. You got some toughness to you. You're not going to back off. You're not going to back down. And that's the same with going against a kid that's a tougher guy in the corner every time or whatever. Yeah. It's the same idea. So now you look at this kid that you're talking about that was on Charlie was playing
20
against.
years old.
But
just signed an NHL contract.
But what a presence on this guy, right? So you look at this guy, and he's like, yeah, he's a prick.
You know who he is.
Oh, and he's a prick to play against. He's got all of those elements that are missing from the game today, that are missing from kids playing today.
Yeah.
He's got all those things. So it's like, you want to stand out, man?
Yeah.
Whereas when you played, what would make you stand out was maybe being really skilled because everyone was just a meathead.
Yeah.
But now it's like we got to start ticking it back the other way a little bit, right? So if you're a guy that has a little bit of toughness, a little bit of jam, like we like to call it, like that's something where people are going to feel your presence when you're on the ice. And then that's a reason that you stand out, because people can feel that you're standing out because of that presence, that grit, that jam that you have that no other kids have, man. No other kids have. A guy grabs you.
Few.
Yeah, like, well, stop in front of the net when a scrum, like just grab somebody.
Yeah.
Just grab them.
Yeah.
Just that. alone. Like
Yeah.
little things like that can start to get a little bit of grit into you, a little bit of toughness into you, and then
Yeah.
people give you respect, man. And that's what I find is missing with all this stuff, you know. So
I
that
agree.
was my starting piece, I guess, for today.
6 hours of it.
Yeah, beat that one to death.
Well, no, but it's actually, I'm glad you said it, because it's very true. You know, a lot of times people don't like to hear the truth, and maybe you're someone listening goes, "Well, it's not the truth. Not everyone's like that." But in society, most people are. It's a softer society, and we're not. I don't think we're doing any justice by making sure that we have a Band-Aid on everything that we do.
Yep.
Sometimes you just have to be a little bit tougher, and then ask questions, and that was the important part of this, is ask questions, right?
Yeah.
So don't just go and take someone's advice. You know, like going back to your physio guy, like, is he in shape? Yeah, okay, I might listen. You're not in shape? I have nothing. You have nothing to say to me.
Yep.
Just twist my back or whatever you're gonna do to me, and don't give me zero advice, because I'm not gonna take it.
Yep.
Right.
You know, it falls in line with everything we always say, right? Ask questions, ask why.
Yeah.
What's the purpose? What's the reason? Like, make sure we're digging. We're not just taking what people say at face value, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's that. Do you gotta tee up for the topic today, or do you want me to tee up here?
You can tee it up.
Okay. So I was inspired on the weekend because we went to see Charlie play.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, and I think somebody might have also asked me a related question about it. But anyways, I was thinking about how different a circumstance it is for Charlie playing this year as opposed to last year, where he was, you know, his AAA go-to guy. So here's a guy that high pick in the OHL draft, came out of a team where he was go-to guy, playing in all the important situations, getting all the important goals, getting all the big points, or a lot of them, and just being a dominant player, walking in now to a situation where he might get scratched. He might play 2 shifts a period. He might play no shifts a period. And having to deal with the fact that I'm used to being a guy that gets all the ice, gets all the puck touches, gets all of that. And now I have to figure out how to deal with the fact that I won't get that. Whether it's for a few games, a few months, the whole year, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I got thinking about that, and just kind of like what it looks like to be in the role of a rookie. And not the 1% rookie like we're talking about that goes in and gets all the playing time. I'm talking about the average rookie that's starting off in junior hockey, and what that path looks like, what the trajectory looks like, and kind of some of the thought process that you need to deal with when you're going through that kind of situation, where you're coming from maybe more of a go-to role, and now you're in a situation where everybody's like you but older or better, and you got to wait your turn, sort of thing. So that's kind of what the inspiration was for the topic. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to take that. I know you got a couple points written down you want to get into.
Yeah. So it's a really good, it's very interesting, like, because it's hard until someone actually becomes a first year junior player, or I'm talking high level junior. It's really hard to understand, because it just will never make sense to you, because like one of the first things I put here, I got to put my glasses on, is that you are going to be, as you said, you're probably, if you're a first year junior guy at 16 or 17 years old, you probably were the best kid on your team, or right around there. And you're probably even maybe the best top 10 in Ontario or something like that. When you went on tournaments, you were probably the best guy on the ice most nights. If you're a 16-year-old rookie in the OHL, and then even in junior B or tier 2 junior A, like you have to be a pretty good player. So you're used to being really good. You're used to being a go-to guy. You're used to getting ice. You're used to the coach looking at you, counting on you. These are the things, and it's just hard to even grasp that playing hockey at any other level could be more difficult. It's almost impossible to grasp. And you believe that you're a good player, right? So in my son's instance, he was 31st overall in the OHL draft. That's a good player. So the thing is that no matter how much I prepared for him for what was coming, when the reality came in, it was like a shovel across the head. And this guy is prepared. So, for example, the first time that he wasn't getting a regular shift, his wheels are spinning. And the thought process with the whole family, not me, but my wife, everybody, is like, well, he's doing well. What, like, he could get out there, like, and he might. But the thing is that it's just not the way it works as a first year guy, typically, as you said, except for the 1%. And I'm talking like the superstars.
Yep.
Most kids are not stepping in at a first, second line role. And if you look through the history of first rounders, it's just the same.
Yeah.
You're not going to be any different than anybody. You're just not going to be different. So the problem is most players, and I've said this before, overestimate how good they are, underestimate how good the leagues are and the players that they're playing against, and what age, 3, 4, 5 years age difference, what the difference of that is. So it's shocking, but it's going to happen, and you got to learn how to deal with that. So that's the number one thing, is you go into these things overestimating, and then you probably think that you could do the job, but you actually can't at this point. It's because you have to remember, like, let's say in the OHL, for example, or like, here's the thing. You might be able to play and have a decent shift on a regular basis, but make no mistake, you are going to make costly mistakes to your team. My son's done it twice in 6 games, where he would have never done that in midget. Just, it wasn't going to happen. So when he makes that mistake as a 16-year-old kid, should the coach sit there and say, oh, the poor kid, or, well, he's going to make a mistake? Or does he give that shift to a guy that's been there for 3 years and was a second rounder 3 years ago, who's not going to make that mistake because he took that puck off the wall 800 times in this league? He doesn't make that mistake, whereas my son has taken that puck off the wall 21 times, and he's made a mistake twice.
Mm-hmm.
So when the game is on the line and this coach has a job to do and they're trying to win a championship and build a future, he's just in a better place to take that older guy that has experience, who's not going to make that mistake because he's just not, and put him on the ice because he knows that he's going to have a better chance of winning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
And there's something to say about, like, even though you might even have better skill than someone, it's the experience.
Yes.
It's like face-offs. If you go into, like, let's say you go in the NHL and you think you're good at face-offs, and you go against Patrice Bergeron, Joe Thornton, and you thought I'm really good at face-offs, and you can't win one because they've seen you, man. They've seen you. They've been in the league for 20 years.
Yeah.
They've taken thousands and thousands and thousands of face-offs against the best players. You've only taken a couple against some good players.
Yep.
So you're not beating them, and it takes experience to do that. You'll never understand that. You'll never understand how good these people are until you actually get there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the experience that makes all the difference. So that's my first part.
Yeah. So just hopping in on that. So what the danger in a lot of the thinking for kids, especially kids that are end up being higher draft picks, but even if they're playing junior B and they're just like a better player on their junior B team, the danger is you do this, the thing that I always talk about is where you compare yourself to like the extreme examples, right? So I just pulled up 2 here that I just want to look at real quick. So the first one, I pulled up Mcdavid for people to look at, because this is what people think their career is going to be like. Okay. So obviously first overall, OHL, underage, steps into Erie, plays 63 games, gets 63 points in his rookie season. Okay. And then he did that for 3 years and doubled his points by the end. First overall to NHL in 2015, played 45 games, had 48 points in his rookie year.
It's incredible.
Okay. That's so ridiculously outside the norm.
Yeah.
So let's take another. And so this is best there is. This is the best example. This is what people think, though. They think they're going to jump in and score 20 goals in their first year. Okay. So the other guy that popped into my head because I thought of McDavid on Edmonton is Cass. Okay. Zac Cassian. Great. Another perfect example. So he was 4th overall in the OHL draft.
4th overall.
4th overall. So he hops in, plays 58 games, 60 whatever game season, 20 points. Okay. -1. So he was in the lineup, but he's not getting great ice.
Yep.
20 points. Okay. Goes 13th overall to the NHL. That's an extremely high pick.
13th best player in the world.
Okay. So his first season, he got sent back to junior. He didn't play.
Yeah.
His after his last year, he went and played in the AHL, played 30 games, had 26 points. got 27 games with Buffalo and then 17 games with Vancouver after his overage year in the OHL, and he had 10 points.
Yep.
Then he played in the AHL again for 30 games in the 2012 season. Then he went up to Vancouver and played 40 games and had 11 points, -7. So this guy's not an established player until the 2016 season.
Yeah, so 3-4 years?
Yeah. So he played, so there's 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and then he played 79 games with Edmonton in 2016. 2016 was his first full season not playing any AHL games. That's the 13th overall pick in the NHL. Nobody's as good as him.
That's right.
He's the 13th overall pick.
Yep.
So the danger when you're doing these comparisons, like you think when you're going to hop in as a rookie that you're going to have the McDavid track where you play 60 games and get 60 points.
Yeah.
There's no, that's not happening.
No,
I just gave you a guy that came 3 picks later, 4th overall in the OHL.
Yeah.
And he's getting 20 points in his first season.
Yeah.
And not good ice.
Yeah.
He's not a go-to guy.
That's right.
So it's like when you're transitioning, or if you're mom and dad, or if you're a kid transitioning into junior hockey, especially, because after junior hockey, you should know the process. But especially when you're transitioning into junior hockey, you should hope for the best, for sure. Like, hope that you're going to get great ice and whatever, but you should be expecting to not. Because then if the expectation is that you're not going to get it and you're going to have to earn everything you get and all of that, and you go in with that mentality, now you're not smacked in the head with the shovel and you're still going to get smacked in the head with the shovel because you're not used to the reality that you're not the best guy on the team anymore. But at least you know that that's the norm. And you don't feel like, when you talked about your own experience, you don't feel like, wow, I'm no good.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you're young and you don't have that experience that you're talking about. So they're going to go down the bench and pick the guy that has the experience now instead of you, right? So that's kind of the mentality shift that most kids need to make, because you're not going to follow McDavid's track, man. Like, you're not, right? And
maybe someone, but it'll be years.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, and that's what we always talk about when you compare yourself to different players, and because we talk about trying to find your role and compare yourself to different guys and whatever, and you have to be really honest about that, because when you make the jump to junior, the chances that you're going to just have a smooth process where it feels like minor hockey, where you just jump in and you dominate right away, or you jump in and just have a really strong first season by the numbers right away, it's not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen. Yep. And that is the vast, vast, vast majority of players that come in as rookie. Even if you're a top pick, even if you're a first rounder, I just gave you a great example with Cass, right? First rounder, high pick, NHL and OHL, and he had to take the time, man. He had to take the punches, and that's just what's going to happen for you. Yeah,
what you have to do when you become, like, so I've had this several times with Charlie, because it's this constant thing, right? You got to keep reminding him, because your feelings get hurt. They're still young kids, but funny, right? 15 years old, I look at his face and he looks mature for a 15-year-old. He looks like such a baby compared to the 20-year-olds in the league. Yeah. If you look at the 20-year-old and you go back and look at a picture from their rookie year, they look like little babies. So the process, you got to understand that you're going to be there at some point. He's going to be an intimidating presence at some point. Now he's just a hardworking guy that is trying to find his role. But and the other thing I told him the other day when something came up, I said, son, it's game 1. You're going to have about 300. I said, this doesn't matter. The important thing is understanding the process. So that's what I want to talk about, is the process. And he's got before his NHL draft, he's got 3 seasons. So he's got a lot of learning and growing to do to get better for that 3rd year, right? But the process is this, and it's no different. I don't even care if you are the best. You have to learn the league, and it's still a process. You have to be good. So for my son, or for anybody that's 16 years old, the first thing is can you actually keep up to the game? Because 5 years in junior, when testosterone's going like out the window, 4 or 5 years age difference is huge. So number one, can you keep up your first year? Can you just keep up with the pace? And if you can do that, that's a good sign. Number 2, if you do what your role is, and this is the tough one, this is a process again, you will be on the 3rd, 4th line, probably 4th line. You're probably going to get scratched in some games, and sometimes for the better of you, because you can't necessarily play 3 games in 3 nights. So someone else might have to take your spot, even if you're doing really well. Coach is taking care of you, maybe even at that point. But the process is that you got to learn the league, and you got to learn how good it is. You got to learn to play within their systems and in their style, and you got to be able to keep up. So the process is, can you do the role that you were given? Now, when you come from a AAA zone where you're this go-to guy, and now you're on the fourth line, and your job is to hit a body, get the puck out, don't get scored on, and get off the ice 4 times to 8 times a game. That's not glamorous. But the process is, because what you have to do your first year and 2 years is you're not showing the world how great you are. You're earning your coach's trust. So that if you get 2 shifts a period or 10 shifts a period, and this is what I told Charlie. I said, here's the bottom line your first year, Charlie boy. If everything goes well in a game, you're going to get about 4 shifts a period, maybe 5 for 3 periods. You're going to get, let's say, a roughly 12 to 17 shifts in a game. So you're going to go on the ice for 30 seconds, maybe, and you're going to come off for about 3-4 minutes. So with those 30 seconds, you just have to make them count. The coach has given you 3 things that he wants you to do well, and you go out there and you for 30 seconds, you concentrate on doing those things well. Get the puck out, make a good pass, finish a check, back check hard, get your shots, whatever those things are. And if you do those well, if you do that well your first shift, you get your second shift because you've earned trust the first shift. You haven't proven diddly shit yet. And when you do it for 13, 14, 15 shifts, guess what? You've had a good game. You've had an incredible game. As much as that seems like silly because you made to come out of the league with 60 goals and score at will and bury guys all over the place, what you've done is you've strung together a great game. And in those shifts, if you've had a turnover at the blue line, or if you've missed a check because you weren't sure this guy's bigger or whatever, you make little things because you're still a kid, you're not sure, that means you're just not ready to play yet. That's just what it means.
Yep.
You cannot turn pucks over through fear or because of lack of experience. It just means you're not ready. So every shift that you play, you have to perform. That's all you have to do. I said concentrate on your 16 shifts. If you get 16 shifts in a game, great. If you get 8, make sure they're the perfect 8 shifts. And if they're 4, make sure they're perfect. Because if you do 4, 8, 12, 16 perfect shifts, you're going to earn your coach's trust over time. If you do that over and over, now you know you can play in the league. Now, the next part is there's a role. Understand that going in as a rookie, you're going to have a role. Play the role and do it absolutely to the best of your ability. So, some people might say, well, yeah, but I'm this. Well, you aren't now. So if you go into the OHL or college and your role is to be a checker on the 4th line and you do it excellent, that gives you one role that you can do for the rest of your life. And if you made the NHL being a 4th line checker and you made $750 to $1.5 million a year for 8 years, that's a pretty good life. Rather than having the pride and the ego of being a superstar, which you're probably not going to be anyways, and not making it. So when you do really well at that first role, and then all of a sudden the coach trusts you and someone gets injured or someone's not having a good game, and you get moved up to the 3rd line, maybe it includes a penalty kill, maybe it's the 2nd line, it might even be net front presence on the power play. Now you've been given another job. That doesn't mean that you're a 3rd line centerman or 2nd line center or winger, whatever it is. All it means is you have an opportunity to do another job. To do what? To earn the coach's trust and your players' trust that you can play. So you don't go into that power play if you get inserted there or 3rd line and thinking that you're the guy. You do your job to the best of your ability. It might be 3 shifts, it might be 3 games. But you do that so that you don't make mistakes. And I'm not saying don't play to not make mistakes, because you have to play the game. But you want to play so that you're not making mistakes, that you're confident enough, and that you can take that step to maybe the 3rd, 2nd line or a top pairing D. And if you can do that well for a period of time, then you've earned the coach's trust to say, okay, he can play in this league, and I can trust him in a different situation, in another situation, and you just continue to do that. But you don't just become a power play guy. You just don't do it. You have to earn that, and it takes time. But at the end of the day, you don't worry about. And so that's the hockey part. So far, that's. I'm gonna leave it at that for now and let you interject.
Yeah, I got the point. Oh, that was good. I like that.
Yeah.
So a couple things. So first thing, obviously talking about that transition and roles becomes a huge thing. When you jump to junior now, playing your role is so important, man. So important. And so a lot of guys, like you said, they come from minor hockey where they're the dominant offensive player.
Yeah.
And now you always say you got to take the minor hockey out of it, right? So you're jumping up and now you got to figure out how to play in this role. So if you don't know your role, because a lot of kids, like if you come in, and you've had a lot of players that you've trained with that couldn't adapt to that third or fourth line role because they thought they were always just skill guys.
Well, and the thing is on that third line role, sometimes it's just really hard because your habits now are critical. Like if you do a drive-by when you should have taken a body, that's like, okay, you can't play because that's your job.
Yeah.
If you come back to your zone and you figure skate rather than stop on the hash marks and sort out and pounce on a loose puck, you're creating, that's not your job.
Yeah.
You're not doing your job well.
Yeah.
So,
well, the point of why I'm bringing that up is you have to be willing to do the role regardless of what you want to have happen, right?
Yep.
So somebody like Charlie is fortunate because he's got the big frame. He already plays physical, so he can adapt to a third or fourth line role really well because he already has that tool in the tool belt. But I played with a couple guys that I can think of right now that they got drafted to the OHL. They went up and got their games, but they couldn't or weren't willing to play a third and fourth line role, meaning really responsible defensively, finish your hits, skate in straight lines, like just being responsible generally, don't get scored on, and then get off the ice. And there was a bunch of kids, I got names at the top of my head right now, where it's like they just weren't willing to do that. So they didn't earn their coach's trust, and they weren't superstar enough to jump right on and get on the power play.
That's right.
So like think if you're a first or second round player and you're a smaller guy, never really was a guy that finished your checks in minor hockey because you didn't need to. And now you're jumping on a team and they're saying, well, you're the third or fourth line guy. I need you to do this and this. It's like, well, I never do that. I don't do that. It's like tough. You have to figure out how to do that now. You have to be, or at least, and it's not to say like you have to go throw booming body checks, but just show you're willing to do that. Give the guy a tap, like finish a hit. You don't have to blow him up, but just rub him out.
Take his hand, cut his hands off.
Take away the shot.
Yeah.
Eat a puck. Like make sure you're strong in your D zone on the wall. Or if you're a winger, or a centerman, make sure you're good supporting your D down low in the corners. Like make sure you're winning battles. Like those are the things that get you, like you said, to earn the coach's trust. It doesn't matter if you think that should be first line power play. It doesn't matter because like you said, you haven't earned it. So it's really important to understand your role. Now, having said that, if you don't understand what your role is, because Charlie's also in a fortunate position where his coach talks to him a lot, and you might not be fortunate to have that. You need to be willing to go talk to your coach. And he might be an asshole and be not helpful, but it doesn't matter. We had one kid I was talking to the other day that wanted to go talk to his coach. He plays on a junior team here because he wasn't getting as much ice time as he wanted, XYZ reason, and didn't really know why or whatever. And that was the advice I gave him. I said, you have to go talk to your coach, man.
Yep.
And you don't go in there and say, well, why am I not getting this, this, and this? You're saying, like, what do you need me to do to show you that I can play?
Yeah.
That's what the question is.
How can I earn your trust?
Yeah. Yep. And I was just going to say that. That's what the question is. It's like, what can I do so that you trust me to be on the ice more? Because you're clearly not trusting me to be on the ice right now.
Yeah.
And to you, it might be clear that they're not trusting you, but to the coach, it might be like, well, no, like this is just the fourth line role, bud. Like you just have to deal with that.
Yep.
So you're only going to get a few shifts a game. So you need to show like you're responsible D zone, finish a hit, rub a guy out, get in the way of shots, make sure we're not turning pucks over at the blue line. And they may just go over all that with you. And then that's helpful. And it went for this player, he went and did that and he felt a lot better. He felt a lot more confident, a lot more secure with his spot on the team. And he's like, okay, like I got to go try to do these things. And if I can do those things, my coach told me that I'll get more opportunity because I'm earning the trust, right? And that's 100%. What the bottom line is. So going with the role thing is important. So now branching off what you said, if you do that well and you can string a bunch of shifts together, you earn the trust. Now you're earning another opportunity. So the whole time it's like you're just hunting for an opportunity, right? And I said this with guys they're in that fourth line role or whatever. You're waiting for someone to play themselves out of a spot or get hurt or something. Because then if you're consistent with your 8 shifts a game and you're doing what the coach asks you, you're playing that role, when that spot opens up, either because the kid isn't playing well on the third line or he gets hurt or whatever the case may be, you're the guy that he picks next to try that spot.
Trust you.
And so now that's the mindset. It's like, okay, you're learning how to play in the league so that when the opportunity comes, you're ready for the opportunity that's going to come. And then you're just chipping away. You're just chipping away.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line when you're developing in those roles. You have to be willing to do the things in those roles, even if that's not how you think you play. Even if you're supposed to be a skill guy that makes plays, it doesn't matter. You have to be willing to do those other things until you earn that spot, like you're talking about, right?
100%.
So,
yeah. So, and the thing is, you have that role, and just because you move to the second or third line, maybe it's the next year or whatever, nothing changes. That's the foundation. That's the foundation. The foundation is good checking, hard back checking, getting pucks out, making and finishing checks. Like, that's the foundation. So when you get to the next line, the foundation's still the base, and now there's elements that you need to be better at, making plays and stuff like that. So the other thing is, which you really have to understand about speaking about the foundation, it's like what you learned in engineering, like the basic stuff of engineering never goes away, does it?
No.
And then when you're really good at it, it just becomes easier, right?
Yep.
So when we look at it as a 60-year-old, this is like, so I'm jumping a bit on my notes, but what happens is, without the right people around you or without the right mindset, what we do, because a couple of things have happened to Charlie, not happened. You just had to say, okay, I got to look at this somehow. Dad, I need your help. What happens is, and you, the way you say it is like, you worry about you, the coach worries about everybody. And the way I look at it is, if you can't look through your career through a straw, because all you see is that, right? So when you get scratched for a game, it's like, why is the coach doing that? This is bullshit. I can play. I can do this. I can do this. Well, maybe the coach sees, number one, you're tired. Number two, not the right matchup. Number three, another kid needs an opportunity who's been working hard, and you haven't had your best, or maybe you have, just, you need a night off. There's a whole bunch of reasons that might go into you not, maybe he's making a trade, maybe he's looking at someone else, maybe he wants, a bunch of things, combinations. But in your life, looking through a straw, there's always going to be poor me. You remove the straw, you look at through the coach's eyes or in a bigger vision, or just simply long term, then you might have a different outlook. So for example, let's just take you're a fourth liner, your first year, 8 shifts a game. If you look at that through a straw, it's a poor me. But if you open it up and say, okay, what am I actually getting out of this? I'm building my base. I'm building my base for the rest of hockey. And I'm 15, 16, or 17, but in 2, 3, 4 years, like, this is hard right now. Like, to just keep up and to finish hits, like, these guys are big, they're strong, they're fast, they got experience, but you're only 15, 16, 17. When you do this really well, in 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years, it's nothing. Now getting the puck out is like, it's a no-brainer. It's on automatic. You're on autopilot. It's like the puck comes on the wall, you got 3 guys on you, you protect it, chip it off the glass, and it's out. That's not a question, right? Yep. It's finishing your checks is just what you do. But now when you're hitting people, it's going back to minor midget or major midget. You're either bigger or better than most of these kids now. So now these little things become like, it's nothing. Your presence become different, but it's so important to take that foundation and just be so good at it, because your time's going to come. But it's I'm telling you, it's taking the straw away. Don't look through the straw. Open up your eyes and look long term. So like Charlie, for example, when he had, it's not an issue. It was just when the first, do we want to call it adversity? Not really, but something he had to deal with. When he called me, I said, son, game 1 or game 2. So you're going to have about 300 games over the next 4 or 5 years. So this is, you do, and the other thing is, do you want to make decisions based on what's good for you today, like what you feel like today?
Yeah.
Or do you want to play in the NHL at 21, 22 years old? He goes, I want to play in the NHL. I said, then don't worry about it. Yeah. It's go through the process, because this today will make you better 3 years down the road.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what you said early on, talking about everybody wants it now, right? And it's patience, right? You have to have patience and know that there's a process. And I like the analogy you used. You talk about the engineering thing, like you build your foundation. And This is what happens when you go to school, right? You learn a bunch of general information so that you know how to deal with all of these things at the base level. Yeah. Then as you progress, now you just start to specialize a little bit. So this is what all these hockey players end up doing. They go on, they play their third, fourth line role. They learn how to play hockey. They learn how to play the game. They learn how to deal with general situations that every player has to deal with, regardless of whether you're a skill guy or a checker or a defenseman or a forward or whatever. And that's like get pucks out, how to tie up sticks, how to get in shot lanes, how to run your patterns, how to play the system, like all of those basic things.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting. So that's what your focus should be. That's your expectation. If you're a first year, fourth line guy, your expectation is, okay, I need to learn all these things. If I get extra, like bonus, but that's not what I'm expecting, right? I'm expecting these things. I'm expecting my 8 shifts a game because I need to learn how to play hockey. I need to learn how to play the game and on this team, right? After that, as you get into your second year, your third year, your fourth year, now you're starting to specialize into what you're really good at as a player, right? So if you're a guy that is a super skilled player, that'll start to come around second.
The game will come out.
Yeah, exactly, right? That'll start to come second, third, and then you're into your last year. Or if you're more of a power forward type guy, you're going to have that foundation still, but now you're in front of the net on the power play whacking pucks, or now you're sitting in the honey hole getting those quick shots off when you're playing like those nice offensive shifts where you guys are buzzing or whatever, So that's a great analogy. You start to specialize into your field kind of thing as you're getting into your older years. And that's when what you're particularly good at is going to start to come out. So you're just playing general role to start, and then you start to specialize. So I think that was a good analogy. I like that.
Well, it's funny because when you look at hockey, what does every interview say when you talk to a kid that just gets drafted and they have their first interview in the OHL or the first NHL is the same thing. The first thing, I don't even have to. You can say it for me, but so how do you find the adjustment is, or what do you think you have to get better at? The game is faster. The guys are a lot stronger. That's what they say every time. I gotta get faster. I gotta get stronger. The game's played at such a high level. So it's like when you get into a car for the first time, you don't take your driver's test on the Autobahn because you'd scare the shit out of you. What the fuck is going on here? Right? You go in the back streets and you start to get better. You get adjusted to speed and all that kind of stuff. It's the same thing as hockey. Time and space is taken away, the better the hockey is. Things are done real fast. So once you get better at doing your role and getting used to the speed of the game, and it's not like you could be what people have to understand is because you're a fast skater doesn't make you adjust to the speed of the game different. It's the speed of which decisions and plays are made, not just the speed. Like skating, yes, it's one thing.
That's a great point.
But it's the speed of the game. It's how fast things. Like I was explaining this. Oh, Charlie, okay. For years, and this is what I'm saying, until you eat a banana, you don't know what a banana tastes like. You can't explain it.
Yeah.
You can't explain it. What does a banana taste like? I don't know. Like eat one. Yeah. Like that's the only way I can explain what a banana tastes like. I hate bananas, by the way. So over the years with Charlie, one of the small things that I tell the kids, and I've been telling them the last couple of days, Charlie, because I was talking about shooting. So when you're always have your stick on the ice. Never mind coming up. Never mind trying to be fancy and have the beauty of the back scratch and stuff. Stick on the ice so that you can get rid of pucks. So Charlie used to argue a little bit, like, I like it like this, and that doesn't work. Shut up. Because it's going to happen. Like, what happens is when you're in the offensive zone and you're playing with really good players and a puck comes and you've got limited space between me and you, the puck comes to me at a hard pace. You do not have time. If your stick's up, you have to react to that. And a lot of the times, if you do, then you've got to make a decision, or you got to bobble it and play with the puck before you can get it off. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or this guy's right on you, so you don't have time to do anything else. So it doesn't matter in Bantam. It doesn't matter. You're going to get your opportunities. Guys are shit.
Yeah.
I don't mean that like rude, but guys are shit as a whole.
Yeah.
You got good players, average players, and guys that are never going anywhere. And the good players, even though the good players, most of them aren't going anywhere. Yeah. So once you get to a higher level, it's critical to have that stick on the ice. And Charlie realized it. He goes, the light went off. He goes, okay, I can't argue with you anymore. Because that puck is on your stick and it needs to be off if you want to shoot.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I'm trying to explain to kids. I said, that's the difference. Is like the habits that you're creating when you're training.
Right.
So that when you get to a high level, that's an automatic. Well, it's the pace is different.
Right.
It's different, man.
I want to highlight that again because that was a great point. It's not when we say speed, it's not skating speed. That's part of it.
It's part of it.
But it's
but
decisions.
You can negate skating speed by angles.
Well, this is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
How people can cut you off.
Yeah.
Or just someone's positioning
mm-hmm.
can make the speed way faster, or way slower.
That's right.
Right. So these kids that are on the ice, they can afford the bad habit in AAA.
Yeah.
If you're just better, you can
That's
have
right.
some bad habits. And that's what happens.
right.
These kids go to the OHL and they have their bad habits, and they
Yeah.
got to get their bad habits out.
Get the
right?
minor hockey out.
That's it, right? You got to get into playing the game properly. And we were watching the game on the weekend, and Charlie had a real nice shift in that second game.
Yeah.
Gets in a position to get a shot off.
Yeah.
And like just hung on to it for a second, and like goalie's already squared up. Guys are already coming at you,
So
and you have no time.
That's the speed of the game.
Exactly, and you could see it in that instance. As soon as it was on his stick, everyone's in his face.
And your face.
Whereas when he's in AAA, he might have been able to grab it, pull a little toey around to the backhand, and get a shot off. Whatever.
That's right.
No time. Couldn't do it. You know, and that's exactly what you're pointing at. It's the habit, right? It's the habit 100%. That we're talking about.
100%. What next point? You got to learn the game within the game. I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. But I'm just going to that one. Play the game within the game. So, like, what happens is in minor hockey, you got mom and dad to buffer things. You got, like, there's a fairness to it, which there should be. Mm-hmm. People are paying money. But there's not necessarily the game within the game. And within the game is you have to understand, like, you got to understand your coach. You got to understand your roles. You got to understand hierarchy. And there should be a hierarchy. Like, I would be, I mean, it is what it is, I guess, sometimes. But if I'm coming in the league my first year, and because I had a couple good shifts, or because, bottom line is that a guy that has experience and has played deserves to get his opportunities to fail. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you got to understand the game within the game, and that sometimes it's not going to go away. Sometimes you're not going to play because the coach sees that you played 2 games and there are 3 games in 5 days or 6 days. You need a night off, or there's a kid chomping at the bit that hasn't played in a couple games, and it's his turn to go, even though you might be doing everything well. But you have to, again, it's opening up and seeing the bigger picture, that nothing that happens in October of your first year is really going to affect your life. Yep. The game within the game, though, that I would like to say is you have to be in your own head. Like, you have to have your own purpose. The games are a chance for you. Like, of course, you're going in there to compete and win. You have to. But your game is where you're going to hone in on everything you've done in practice. Like, be excellent at because you're not on the ice that much. But where you have the game within the game is that you have to understand that coach is watching. He's watching everything. People are watching. Scouts are watching. Like, people are watching everything that you do. And your practice habits, you're getting there early, your how you treat everybody and all that kind of stuff is also the game within the game. And making good relationships and having a good, what's the word? Not resume, but a good, someone thinks highly of you.
Reputation?
Good reputation. Okay, we'll say that, like a reputation that's like such high standards.
Character?
Character, yeah. You're working out as hard because where you're going to get better at that point is like your nutrition. You're getting into the gym and you're not pissing around in the workouts. You're actually doing something. Because in the OHL, like they work out after games. Like after a game, like people go, why the hell would you do that? Because you need to stay strong and you're young. But anyways, you work out after games. You can take it and say, okay, let's hurry up and get out of here. Or you can work out with a purpose. And everything that your practices and in the details that you pick up, that's what you really need to understand about it, especially your first years, to get that real big, I guess we'll go back to the word foundation, and really hone in on it and be not just okay at it, embrace it and be excellent at it. Like, your win today might be you got into the lineup. That's a win. Your win today might be you got 8 shifts and a shot on net, and you played a perfect game as a fourth liner is supposed to, right? But where you're going to get the wins is in the gym, in your practice, like when no one else wants to battle, but you're battling. You're doing the drills. You're working your ass off because that's where your gains are going to be made. So there's a lot of other things besides just playing, especially as a 60-year-old. Those are the things that are going to make you better. You're practicing against great players. Like Charlie's team, they got so many NHL picks and stuff. Like, they're great players. So when you go one-on-one with a Daniel Chayka who signed with Vegas, that's a pretty serious one-on-one. If you want to fluff off on that, that's on you. Yep. But if you want to try to beat him every time, even if he decides on this one, who cares? You beat him every time. Mm-hmm. That's how you're going to get better. The thing is that when you do in your first year, there is a point where there's a game changer. Like, you actually start fitting in when you do your role properly. And it's usually somewhere just after Christmas. And now some teams are really deep, and it actually doesn't matter. You might be going for a Memorial Cup run, and they make a trade for 6 guys, and it doesn't matter. But your games are still made right after Christmas. It's toughing it out and getting those reps, and getting experience and having basically, if you can say, flawless shifts. Your 8 to 10 flawless, 16 flawless shifts night after night. And then all of a sudden the game starts to go, okay, I got this. Like, you've got some experience now, right? It's like, I've done this before. I've played against this guy, been in that building.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Like,
well, that's the biggest part, is that experience piece. Like, you talk about the foundation. Like, another thing, game within the game stuff, like a big part of it is just like how to play actual systems.
Yeah.
Now, like being able to read that.
Yeah.
So like a big thing that comes up for me that I remember in my first year was like understanding what to do off of face-offs, for example.
Yep.
Like, if you're a centerman, if you're a winger, if you're a defenseman, where should you go?
Yep.
Where is everyone else going?
Yep.
And then being able to, and knowing where on your team and the other team, where is everyone going?
Yep.
Like, that's something you'll never get unless you just play through it.
That's right.
You have to play through it, because there's so many. I remember in junior, we'd have like 5, 6, 7 different kinds of face-offs we're running, and we would need to know their face-offs that they're running. Because if we win, it's different than if they win,
That's
you know?
right.
So it's like you have to know all these things, where in minor hockey, it's not, if you have a really good coach, you might have some of that, but it's never to the same degree as what you're going to get playing in junior, playing at university or whatever.
Yeah.
So you need to be it's not just playing, it's thinking. It's like thinking the game, like knowing how to read what their D are doing, what are their forwards doing, where's my guy at, like, and beyond just let's get the puck and score. Yeah. Like, that's pond hockey, you know?
Well, and just the newness of everything. Like, the newness of everything is so incredibly, like, you got to understand, like, if you got a job at Google tomorrow, right? And it's in wherever the freaking Google is. Where is their headquarters, by the way?
I don't know. There's one in Waterloo, though.
Yeah, but I'm talking
I don't know where the
talking
headquarters
real
is.
Google.
I'm assuming it's Silicon Valley. Actually, somewhere, California.
Funny story. A guy the other night that was sitting in front of me was talking to us at the game, and he knew one of the kids on the team. They're friends. Blah 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 blah. And I said, so where do you work at? He goes, Google. And I look at him. I go, what's that? He looked at me like, what? I said, I'm just kidding. I don't know what Google is. Anyways, but if you go to Google and they say, okay, you're going to go down to the whatever department. You're not going in there, okay, I'm going to go to that and I'm going to do my job. You're going in, you're going, wow, this is freaking Google. This is huge. This is amazing. Look at that bill. Look at that. Oh, look at that guy. Must be smart. And every freaking step that you take, and everything that you look at, it's a new experience. And you're going, wow, there's a cafeteria here. There's a cafeteria here. There's a cafeteria here. There's this. What is that? I've never even seen that before. This is the newest technology. This is something to take you to space. And you're sitting there going, what the hell? It's the same as a rookie.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, one of Charlie's line mates in a preseason game came across the ice, midget to junior, came across the ice, puck out here. He's a righty. Big goon. Came across and hammered him like,
yeah.
That's a new experience. That didn't happen. This guy was a monster, mean. That people have never seen that guy before.
Right.
But so you go through, like, you think about it. You go to the building every game, and that's what I'm saying. Christmas time, you're gonna have an idea. After Christmas, you're gonna have an idea because you've been to most arenas. See, Charlie's going to Owen Sound today. Right? He's played in Kitchener. He goes, that was nuts. Yeah. Played at home opener. Holy, it's crazy in there. There's the lights. There's this. There's every time you do something, it's something new. It's all these senses going at you. Like, it's hard just to play the game the way you did in minor hockey.
Play the game,
Today, they're taking another road trip. It's a 2-hour drive to Owen Sound. Owen Sound's got a rink the size of this table. And they fill it, and it's loud, and it's crazy, and I guess the boards are like that brick wall. Yeah. New experience. They play the Sioux. They play every time they go to. So you got to get through the league once just to even know what a bus trip's like, a hotel's like, the food's like, the arena, the jerseys. Oh, it's tonight's superhero night. Everyone's wearing superhero. Like, what's going on? Yeah. Right. You got new sticks. You get new gear. You get new this. Oh, I'm a king of the world today. Yep. There's rookie party. There's team dinners. There's the billets. There's every single day. There's a new experience. And you got to perform. No, it takes 3 months to get through the league, to say, okay, I've been to Owen Sound before. Okay, I've got an experience. I've seen that guy. You got to learn the system, how it works, man.
Yeah. Well,
there's a ton.
Well, and
it never stops.
To your point, you said like after Christmas is normally when guys start to settle in, right? And I remember remember listening to a talk, Simon Sinek talk. He was talking about kids that you're talking about Google and stuff before, people that go to these out of college, they go to these Silicon Valley jobs and whatever, and they'll ask them like how they're doing after like 6 months or whatever. Like, oh, like I feel like I'm not really making an impact. Like I'm not really
Yeah,
helping.
I've seen that.
Yeah. And so they're not happy. Like they feel like they should leave or like go do something else. And they're like, you've been here for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like that's no time. Like give yourself a chance to figure it out, you
That's
know?
right.
And for, especially for young kids, I've said this before, like everyone thinks in such short periods of time because everyone wants everything now. I use the example with Jerv, how he was, didn't play AAA, got drafted late, got cut from junior B, then makes the OHL. And that happened all in 3 months. Like those are all huge events that happened in a 3-month time period, So you're thinking on really short periods of time, but you need to give yourself a chance. So like for what we constantly say to Charlie when he's going through this stuff is like, dude, you just gotta be patient. Like you just gotta be patient, man. And it's easy to say, it's hard to do when it's happening to you, but being there for a month, being there for 2 months, being there for half a season,
It's nothing.
that's nothing.
It's nothing.
That's nothing. Like I'm looking at Zac Cassian's hockey DB right now,
Yeah.
and I got 20 years of games to look at.
Yeah.
It's like his 2008 season, nobody cares. Like nobody cares.
No.
Like it doesn't matter. Like nobody cares about any of that, And so it's all like you said to start. It's all just about the process. It's about trending up over time. But you have to this is what the moral of the story ends up being. It's like you're trying to understand what the mindset should be. You shouldn't go in there expecting like you're gonna just knock everyone's socks off right away. And and I bet you Charlie had some of that before he left. He probably was real excited coming out. He had a really good off-season training. He had really good skates, and he's the best guy, if not the best guy on the ice, one of the best guys on the ice. You think you're gonna go in there and do something until you show up to camp.
I said it to him last week. The Philadelphia scout said it to him. I said it to him last week when he not a pity party, but he was like,
yeah,
not going the way I want. Philadelphia scout told him, he said, you're not going to be different than anyone else. You're gonna learn. You're gonna get through the league, but you're gonna be good. But you're not gonna be different. If you go in there thinking you're gonna be different than anybody else, it's gonna be a long year, right? What I told to Charlie is, these are the two things you're gonna do. Is you're gonna go there and learn. I know it sounds great. You're gonna go earn. You're gonna learn. And you're gonna earn everything you got. Yeah, it sounds great. And he said it in his interviews and all that stuff, and he meant it. But when it comes down to like, what is it like? Are you gonna be excited about learning when you just want to play? I don't know. I thought I'm gonna get 20. You're not getting 20. You might, probably not. You're really good or really lucky or things really went your way if you got 20 goals as a rookie. And he didn't say that. I'm just, I'm just saying,
example,
like, I know what he's thinking. He's going to go in there and be different. You're not. So, when things aren't going exactly the way you want, the phrase, going in there, no, when you go in there wide-eyed and thinking that everything's great, it's easy to say, I'm going to go there and learn, and I'm going to earn everything I get. Once you realize that you could be a scratch, you could get 0 shifts, you might get 8 shifts. That attitude, and this is all like, we'll go back to this. It's an attitude, it's mental. Is you got to actually believe in that. Like you got to understand that the process is earning and learning and earning. So every day is about getting a little bit better, and it adds up. Like those are the wins every day. But when it's hard, it's hard to go in there and say, okay, I know the last time we played these guys, I got 6 shifts and I got hammered in the corner and coach yelled at me for not getting a puck out. But today, I'm going to, in practice this week, I'm going to learn everything I can about and get better. And I'm going to earn my spot for the next game. Easy to say, a lot tougher to do when you're emotionally involved.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's the hardest thing because your ego's attached to it. And this is where you start doubting yourself, or you start thinking that maybe I'm just not good enough for this league, or like, why not, or poor me. And this is where you need a strong mental attitude, and then surrounding yourself with the right people. And hopefully those people are within your team, and hopefully within your family, and a few phone calls away, because everybody needs it. Everybody needs it, man.
Oh yeah.
Everybody needs it. And I went out for breakfast with a couple of the kids who were with me, actually. a couple kids on his team, and I said, listen, you guys, like we talked a little bit about everything, laughed, but talked about hockey, and I said, I'm not your coach. I'm never going to tell you anything to do within your team, but like I talked to him a little about attitude and earning and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, if you guys ever need a phone call, like if you feel like you just suck or there's something that I might be able to offer you something. And I know they have a mental skills coach and stuff, but I said, feel free. Like I've got experience in this thing, right? And they're like, oh, thanks. We probably will. Because most parents don't know what to say to their kid.
Yeah. Well, now that was something that I was definitely missing going through junior, was the network piece of it, right? Because like I've said before in like past episodes, like mentally I was dialed into like what I thought I was supposed to be doing and whatever, but it's in those times when it's not going so well, right? To try to remember, like I didn't have a coach telling me, nope, you're doing this well, and this is just part of the process, and you need to be doing this, this, and this, and just wait your turn and all that kind of stuff. I didn't have anybody tell me that. My parents didn't know what to say. My parents didn't know like what to tell me when things were tough, other than just, hey, deal with it, keep going, like it's okay. Other than that, it's like actual advice that's helpful in terms of hockey. It's like that's something that's missing, right? And you got to keep that in mind when, especially those first couple of years that you're playing in junior, like it's not going to be all sunshine, even though you'll come into camp hot and you'll think like, oh, I had a great off season or whatever, you know?
Speaking of that, there's some kids that look pretty good in camp, and then the preseason starts and you could just see it go.
Yeah.
And then when the regular season goes, it's like, and it gets crowded real quick.
Yep.
It's amazing. Like you can't think you're too good too early, even if you have some success. Wanted to say another experience that the reality of it, man. So be very, very, like you got to learn how to be mentally tough. You got to, like, again, there's a dream. The dream's big. I'll get through it. The problems are big. I'm not getting through it. But you got to look at the big picture. You got to look long term. Don't look through a straw. Keep doing the work and trust the process. Trust the system. But it was, I think, a couple realities, not bad realities for Charlie, but like, again, it was a banana taste like till you've been there and you see it. Charlie had a couple buds on the team, considered veterans. They were on the team for a couple years. Gone. And Charlie said, "Yeah, this I'm not going to name it. This guy and this guy's gone." And Charlie was pretty good buddies with the one. I go, "Oh yeah, like any feedback?" He goes, "No, he's not talking to anybody. He's just, I guess he's right." Of course, he lost his mind. It was his dream. He's come to a realization, unless he gets traded, which probably won't, that the OHL is not a thing anymore. He couldn't perform at the higher level. And as a 16-year-old, we're seeing someone get traded for the first time. You sit there and you go, "Oh, but my buddy he's got to go find a place to play hockey because he's not good enough to play in this league." That's a reality. That's a smack, right? So it's like makes you quite aware that if you don't perform, that could be you.
Yep.
And you see it on TV, TSN Trade Center, all that shit. It's all hype, all fancy. No, it sucks.
Yeah.
To see people that are your friends actually get whacked.
Yep.
It's the reality. And it's like these are all these experiences that you have to understand.
Yeah.
But my thing with being a young guy is that you really have to understand, like see the long-term process, and you got to just stick with it because things change. If you do the work, it's like working out, right? I did it with Charlie, Seabass, all these kids. You go to the gym the first time and you're a mess. You know, you go to lift something off the ground. When you do it, you look like a turkey that's just been shot, right? You look like popcorn. It's all over the place. And then it's like, okay, I'm sore. I don't want it. But you tell the kids, stick with it. 4 days a week. And then after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they go, like, I don't see anything. I know you won't see anything. It's like reading books. I don't feel any different. But then it's all of a sudden it's a month, 2 months later, and the kids are going, "Did you see my veins? Like I'm feeling good." And then all of a sudden their shirts are like they're starting to look. It's that little bit of hope that keeps them going, right?
Yep.
And it's the same thing, man. It's the exact same thing. You have to stick to the process and understand that if you do what you're asked to do, if you do those things over and over and over, and you do it hard, and you're a student and you do things right, your first year it might suck, it will get better, or it just might suck. But embrace that because it's part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do the training in the summertime, you get yourself even better, stronger. Now you're older. Now the gap is getting smaller between the stars and you. And then it becomes a little bit easier, maybe even a lot easier. But it might be that second year as well,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just a little bit better, but it's not perfect. But by your third year, now you know, okay, it happens.
Yep.
But you have to trust it, man. You have to trust it, build that base, and do the work.
Yeah, that the gym analogy is great. That's exactly how it is. It's just like one day, it's like all of a sudden one day it just turned on,
Yeah.
and you don't notice in the time that you're developing, like when we talked about for Seabass again, it's like you don't notice the wins you're getting until
That's
you
right.
look back.
That's right.
And then when you look back, then you can point to, oh, this point, this point, this point, this point, I really learned, I really figured out something, or that was a turning point or whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't notice it while it's happening. And then one day it's just like you look back and like, holy crap, like I'm a seasoned veteran player
Yeah.
in this league now. And
Yeah.
like I have no problem playing with any guy.
Yeah.
And that's what will end up happening if you have enough patience to wait it out and not go in there expecting like you're going to be that guy day one, right? Because it's not going to happen. And so hopefully like a lot of the young kids can if not understand it, at least they've heard it now. And they can deal with that. So I don't know if you had any other things you want to close on.
It's going to start again at the next level. You go to the American League, you go to the NHL. Is again, you're earning trust. You're earning, okay, this guy deserves to be here. No, I'm just going to stick on it just that one more time is that, because I think it's important, is that like I'm done. But when you're doing the work and you don't think that anyone's noticing, you're wrong. It just takes time. And probably the best example when we did fluff off, like I'm just going personal here, or you could use any analogy. You see this a lot of people. When we're doing our Operation Fluff Off, I decided that we were going to lose 10 pounds that month, like roughly in a month or so, 2 months, whatever it was. So week 1, I did everything, all I did is tighten up my diet a little bit. The weight went down a little bit. I didn't notice. I couldn't tell. Right? Did the work. It was 8 pounds. And it's like, I didn't notice. I didn't know I was doing good. But you, Dalton, my wife, like, it was just like a little bit of effort, a little bit of time, a little bit of work. Like I already kind of said that. And other people were noticing. I didn't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing that's going to happen in your hockey. Is you have to do the work, but you have to do the work. You have to do that part. And when you do it, even though you might be thinking, you're looking on the bench like, coach, I'm here, man. Gave you 8 good games. I've got 2 goals. I've finished every check. Like I'm here. Check. I'm here. He knows. He sees. It's not unnoticed. There's going to be a time and a place, and it might be not till next year, but that time will come, and you get recognized, and you get play, and you'll succeed.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's right. And I think that's the end off, like the takeaways, like having the patience and the trust the process, focus on build the foundation those first couple of years, and that should be your focus going in. Don't think you're jumping in to be a superstar. And
Right.
if you are, bonus, awesome, good for you. But go in there, learn how to play hockey, learn how to play it properly, and make sure you're not defeating yourself before you give yourself a chance to actually adapt to playing in the league, right?
Right.
So, okay, good shit. We'll leave it there and pick her back up next week.